My name is Kimberly Zafian, and during the attack on the World Trade Center, I was Director of Broadcast Services at the American Stock Exchange. I remember I was a little late that morning for whatever reason, and when I came up and out of the subway station, I remember ashes coming down, um, and I was wondering what was going on. So I looked up, and there's just ashes falling from the sky, and you could see the smoke. And so I went inside, and they said that a plane had hit, and everybody was gathered in the lobby. They weren't letting us up to our offices. We got word that they were sending everybody home. So, with everybody else, I walked out of the building and started walking towards the subway station, I guess, to go home. You know, people dispersed. I was walking, and then all of a sudden, you heard the rumbling. I'm from California, and to me, it felt like an earthquake was happening. So you heard the rumbling, you felt the rumbling, and then I looked behind me, and it was like a tornado of debris was coming towards us. So everybody started running. I started running with everybody. And I remember a guy in front of me went down into the subway station again. He yelled, "Come on, come on." And thank God I didn't, because now I think back and I'm like, there's no way of smoke and debris to get, to get out of the subway once it was in. So I don't know if people down there were able to breathe or not. But anyways, I was running with a couple of people, and we ran into a deli, and the doors closed, and me and those people in the deli stayed there for, I guess it might have been like 3 hours until um, things calmed down a little and we were able to leave. And I called my mom from the deli telephone. I wasn't able to call my husband, who was local, but I was able for some reason to call my mom in California and told her I was okay. And I asked her to call my husband for me, and she did. And I remember crying when I was on the phone with her and just saying, I want to go home. I think when we were in there too, it's hard to remember now, but when we were in there too, we heard I remember hearing the second tower fall as well, once we were in there. So after hours of waiting in there, people were saying, okay, let's try to find our way home. So in the deli, I'd met a woman that was from Connecticut, kind of close to where we live here. And we had made the decision that once we leave the deli, we'll try to get home together. So when we finally left the deli, I remember walking outside, and there was just ash covered everything. And I've seen the news covering war zones, and that's what it looked like to me, a war zone after a bomb hits a city or something. It was just ash everywhere. And the girl I was with, I think, had contacts in at the time, and she couldn't see because the ash was getting in her contacts. So I remember, holding her, kind of like grabbing her arm and kind of just like guiding her. We took the ferry to Jersey City, And then there's the other part where when I got home, my husband wasn't home actually, because he woke up and saw the news coverage that what had happened to the towers, and wasn't able to get a hold of me. He jumped in the car and started driving to New York. That all the streets were empty, and he was racing, to somehow get to me. And eventually, through friends, I think, or through this person calling this person calling this person, I was able to finally tell him I was okay and at home. And at that point, he was in the city trying to find a way to get to me. And once I was home, work had called him and said, if you're in the city, just stay there because you're going to cover the event. So I remember being home by myself, which was, at that point I was very emotional. So I would have rather had been home, but that's not how it worked out. Everything changed after that. We really didn't feel safe anymore. And for a while there was we were on that level, those level of terrorist threats. You had the orange and the red, I remember that. You don't see those too much anymore. I think the turning point where Americans didn't feel safe in America anymore. Not like they used to. It really didn't hit me what it was. When I walked out of the subway and looked up and there was ash everywhere, you're not thinking that's not your first thought as a plane hit the tower. Because, why would you think that to begin with? But I guess I thought maybe there was a fire. And I'm just seeing the ash. And then we went inside and people are like, plane hit. And, when you first think a plane hit, it's kind of inconceivable that somebody did it on purpose. So you think, something went wrong or a small aircraft hit. But then the enormity of it hits. And I forget at what point I finally, people understood what happened and that a big passenger plane had hit. And then, of course, there's, we found out later, some of the people I worked with, I didn't see any bodies, but I know people I work with who went to go help or wanted to check or lived in the city. Some of them saw bodies, because people were jumping out of the towers to escape the fire. I guess the one event that kind of reminds me of it, not because of the size or the number of people killed. I hate to, measure it that way, but why it reminds me of it is how a city came together like New York did after the fact, and that is the bombing at the marathon in Boston. That was a terrible event too, but you see how people come together after a tragedy like that. That's why it reminded me of the Twin Towers, because the way Boston came together as a city is a lot like, I feel, the way New York came together as a city after their tragedy happened.